But certain fragments of information relating to the provenance of the document escaped Pan Wiadomski on subsequent evenings, and I have tried to piece them together, as will be seen shortly. Meanwhile, I gave my attention to the text. I perceived at once that what I had before me was a fragment, albeit a large one. Some of the sheets were palimpsests, superimpositions of scripts of various periods. There were Greek sentences difficult to decipher because they were transliterated into Hebrew, and again Hebrew sentences transliterated into Greek. I gathered that a large part of the text was missing at the end. I was left with the impression that in the actual redaction there had been at least two opposing parties, each of which had sought to insert its views and interpretations. The historic sources relating to Bible research are far from exhausted. On the contrary, it is precisely in our period that important discoveries have been made by the excavation of genezot, or collections of documents in ancient synagogues. These are sources of enormous significance, which have confirmed certain statements which were, until recently, considered entirely speculative. Again, there have been unearthed, between the linen wrappings of Egyptian mummies of human beings and of crocodiles, papyri with fragments of biblical texts, recognizable as such, and other fragments in Syriac or in Ethiopian, not to be found in the known books, but obviously relating to them. The dry clime and soil of Egypt have preserved them in excellent condition. Documents which far-off generations entrusted to the dead or concealed in caves and the secret repositories of synagogues are now coming to the light to unravel riddles which we once believed would remain unanswered forever. And now, as to the provenance of the document, insofar as it related to Pan Wiadomski, concerning this I have nothing to offer but a hopeless confusion of suggestions and imitations. On one occasion, long before I made his acquaintance, Pan Wiadomski had spoken openly of an ancient New Testament which he had discovered in a monastery on Mount Sinai, with the help, it later appeared, of a notorious forger. Later, he had declared that he had discovered in an antiquarian's shop in Warsaw an unknown gospel, which he was keeping to himself until he had prepared it for publication. If we discount the second story as an invention, we are thrown back on the first as being the only clue to the origin of the manuscript, and the clue is strengthened by certain allusions which Pan Wiadomski made in his abrupt, irresponsible way to the man who had helped him. But now the discovery was shifted both in time and place, and called up a long-forgotten incident in the life of Pan Wiadomski. The scene was Damascus, the time, the close of the last century. In the period following the abandonment of his regular studies, Pan Wiadomski had often been seen in Egypt and the neighboring countries in the company of a professional forger of antiques. The latter was widely known in the academic world both for his unparalleled erudition and his dishonesty. It appears that the two men, one of them already illustrious and notorious, the other still a youngster, came together in a monastery on Sinai. Together they entered the employ of a group of Levantine merchants engaged in illegal excavations and operated in Egypt, Palestine, and Syria. At that time, that is, long before Pan Wiadomski launched his first story, there were rumors that the two men, or the older scholar alone, had found in a cave near Sepphoris in Galilee an ancient document of amazing importance, the original, in fact, of a new gospel by one of the apostles. But nothing followed the rumor. Shortly afterwards, the older man was found dead in a room of a little hotel in Damascus. The Sultan's police sought his companion, known to be his accomplice in the illegal sale of antiquities, but the man had disappeared. The document was never heard of again. The Levantine dealers did not dare to pursue the case for fear of being implicated in secret excavations, a serious criminal offense. By various means, they helped to spread the rumor that the professor had been killed by the curse of the ancient Egyptian priests. In time, the whole incident was forgotten, and I, who had read of it, would never have called it to mind if the confused and inconsistent statements which escaped Pan Wiadomski at irregular intervals in connection with the provenance of his manuscript had not made me ransack my memory. I need hardly say that it is not my intention to attribute to Pan Wiadomski the slightest connection with the tragedy which took place so many years ago in the obscure little Khan in Damascus, though, to be frank, the most commonplace scholar, confronted with a discovery of such magnitude and uniqueness, would have been sorely tempted in the name of science, and Pan Wiadomski was no ordinary scholar, but a passionate, one may say a frantic devotee. I, too, must confess that whenever I put my hand on the manuscript, in the course of my translation of it, a shudder passed through my body, and a voice proclaimed within me, "Do you know what lies before you? This is the record and the original script left by Judah Ishkariot in the tomb cave of Sepphoris in Galilee." It was not a comfortable feeling. How then did the treasure come into Pan Wiadomski's possession, and what became of the missing parts? I know nothing beyond what I have related. The full secret will go down with Pan Wiadomski to the grave, to be uncovered when he must give an accounting of himself before the eternal judge. In any case, it has no bearing on the matter before us, and we will say with the wisest of all men, that which is far off and exceeding deep, who can find it out? It is time now to let the manuscript speak for itself.